I'm Michelle. This is my so-called handmade life. I have a blog by the same name, and that's my name on Instagram. On Ravelry, I'm Mamatronic. And I have a Ravelry group for my so-called handmade life where I have episode threads that have all the notes. There's also notes here on YouTube and on my blog. But you can comment in the Ravelry thread, here on YouTube in the comments, or on my blog. Some people even comment on Instagram where I post a photo of the episode title page and show that I've just posted an episode. So Instagram tends to be really easy for some people because they're on it constantly, knitters are. So you're welcome to post there. I am meant to talk to you guys sooner, but a lot's been going on here. First, let me say, if you don't know, this is a knitting podcast. I'm pretty sure you know that. I can't imagine you finding me by accident because this is pretty niche, but maybe you have. It's not just knitting, and it's not super technical about knitting. It might just be inspiring for you color-wise or garment-wise, but then I talk about a lot of other things. I don't know how inspiring it is, but I ramble and I feel good. I feel like I've hung out with a friend. I get a lot of my talkies out before the men come home and it's all silence, right? So please comment, because your comments help guide the conversation. I don't feel like I'm talking to someone unless I'm really talking to someone, and I don't know unless they talk back. So please do. I have a fun question this week I'm asking you, but comment on anything I talk about, please. And I will probably mention your comment in the next episode. So, what's been happening here is, do you remember when I started my podcast 2 years ago? Shortly after I started, a hurricane happened. Our home didn't flood, but like everyone we know's home flooded. Most of the people in my neighborhood for sure. And we actually had someone living with us in that room I first podcast in for like 9 months while they were waiting just to be able to get supplies and to get their home fixed, because all the rates of all the home improvement supplies jack up when we have these. So it's really a racket. And also, so many people are trying to repair their homes. They can't get the supplies they need. So that happened. I know people who just got back into their home from Hurricane Harvey in 2017. And we had a tropical storm a couple of weeks ago, and they're out of their home again now. And it wasn't even a hurricane. It's just a tropical storm. I've never in my life seen that happen here. I never evacuated my entire life until I was an adult. And we've had to evacuate consistently, like once every 3 years, or thereabouts. People in this area have, it seems. And these low-level storms, like Hurricane Harvey was not so strong a storm that we would normally think we have to leave because of tornadic damage. It's floodwaters. This area, it was never supposed to flood, we didn't think. But the Gulf waters are warm, and it looks like this is going to be a little hurricane corridor. So, a lot of people are reevaluating who live here. Some people are packing up and moving because they can't keep doing this every few years. It's exhausting. It's really hard on people. So, again, we did not have flooding in our home. We will have to re-level our home, and we can't jack it up too high. There's issues because of attached buildings and things. I don't know. We have flood insurance, thankfully, but we just sat for 2 days watching local news because we had power, and Facebook videos with people in their motorboats, going down streets looking for people trapped in cars or trapped in houses. It really snuck up on us. No one was expecting this. A lot of people got trapped on the highways. The roads flooded and were blocked. And so water's rising, and they're on the highway, and they see the water coming up to the sides of the concrete barriers and then over. Very scary. Many people had to abandon their cars and get on big rigs or in the back of trucks. And one lady called the news station and was talking, and she said, "I see deer swimming past my car." That's scary. There were some deaths, some drownings. So you sit and you watch this, even though it's not happening to you, it still takes a toll on you because it's just so dreadful, you know? So that's just kind of got me off schedule. I did film one episode last week and I just didn't like it. I felt too scattered and it was a big mess and jumble. So this may still be scattered, but I'm posting this no matter what. So I hope this week finds you all well. Gonna be regular with this. One of these days, I swear. End weaving party. End weaving party hasn't been super successful this last few weeks since my last episode. You know, I took pictures. I wore this right after it blocked. And I said, oh, I'm going to tuck in, I'm going to weave those two ends and get some photos. Well, I got some photos. But did you know I just tucked these in again? I still haven't woven these in. And I meant to do it before I podcast and I keep forgetting. So that's an end weaving party fail. End weaving party is my hashtag for the stupid stuff that's been finished, some of it for 2 years, that needed its ends woven in so that I can wear it. But we haven't had much of a winter in the last few years, so it hasn't been a big priority. However, post your stuff as you weave in ends because you really do motivate me. I'm like, ugh, if she can do it, I can do it. So there's this. And by the way, all of you who complimented my soldotna and the color choices I made, I didn't choose this color combo. This is a kit from Mockingbird Fiber Company. And in fact, Andrea, she does this with her sister Jamie. She owns this yarn company. She was doubtful about this colorway combination. Jamie put it together and said, this is good. This is a winner. Andrea was doubtful, but now they've seen it made into a soldotna, and I think this is proof that Jamie's eye was good. I love this. I wanted this colorway, just wanted it for myself. Drops of Jupiter. I would see it on their website and think, oh, it's so pretty. When I saw they were offering the kit, then I was like, okay, now I'll do a cropped sweater. I've knit so many sweaters and I would mean to crop some and I just never would do it. It's like I enjoyed it too much or I was afraid it wouldn't look good with my clothing. I don't have a lot of high-waisted things. And so I mentioned that in the blog post about it, that I've knit like 100 plus sweaters and it's time to try something different. And like, I know 100 sweaters. Katie was like, what? You've knit 100 sweaters? That's including summer sweaters and tank tops and things like that. But anyway, I could have put this color combo together. I would not have thought to put it with Drops of Jupiter though. And I love it. It's got coral, mauve, kind of a brick red and tan in it. It's just a really great color combination. It's a very unusual color. So those of you who are impressed with my great color eye, it's not mine, it's Jamie's. But I could recognize that it was awesome, so I get some credit for that, right? Anyway, that was an end weaving fail, but I have been working on my Color Craze by Tammy Gore. I'm sorry, I'm going to be bending down a ton. I have all this stuff spread around me. I'm doing the BIPOC Make Along for 2019, and that's just a knit along or a crochet along, where you look for a designer or you finally knit from a designer that you've liked that's, for me it's, okay. It is a make along, because I didn't make that sound good. You finally knit from them. No, I don't mean it that way. For me, it's finally, I've collected some Tammy Gore patterns and I love all of them. I collected a Homespun House rustic mini skein set just for a Tammy Gore pattern. Yet I would do a lot of sweaters in the last year. You remember the giant oversized sweater craze I was on? And so I would save these patterns and save yarn thinking maybe this will work with this for her patterns. And I never actually did it. So for me, it's finally I'm knitting Tammy Gore's pattern. But I was going to do it anyway. But when I saw this BIPOC Make Along was out, I thought, well, this is cool. It'll line up with that. And the make along is where you just knit or crochet something from a designer who is Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. And it's just drawing a little attention to businesses that might not get so much attention. Tammy gets, as she's in the public eye quite a bit. I think she gets plenty of attention for her knits, but I've learned of some others that I just didn't know. And different designers that are crochet designers. I'm not so much into the world of crochet because I've barely ever crocheted. But I'm interested in doing it more, especially once I get that crochet blanket going. I know I'm going to really be interested and more confident in crocheting. So I've been enjoying seeing, it's Desa Moore who is hosting it, and she has a lot of crochet patterns. Is why I say that. I didn't even know her. I didn't know anything about her patterns, so I've enjoyed seeing those. But then there's other knitters, designers I have never heard of. And so it's been good for me to get exposure to new designers, new things to make. So I told you I had a Homespun House Rustic Minis. It's her 10-gram set. I couldn't make it work. In my head, with these other Tammy Gore patterns that I had, like Minis in Me, it called for different yardage, and I thought, well, I don't think I could do that. But Molly just inspired me to just say, whatever, I'm going to knit the contrast color I want whenever I want. She started hers, and she used a light colored main color, whereas I'm using a darker one. She started hers, and where the first contrast color is called for, she just started with the first skein in her mini skein set. And she just kept knitting, even when it called for the second or the third contrast color. She kept going until she finished it. Then, as it called for a contrast color, she works on her second mini skein, and she just keeps using it. No matter what number of contrast colors called for, she just uses that color alone for it until it runs out, and so on and so forth, until she finished the entire set. Now, she wasn't doing the rustic minis, but you can see it on Molly's Instagram. She had like fresh sheets. It's like a natural color, and maybe something else. She held mohair together with hers, which I really wanted to do, but I decided not to. So I decided to do the same thing with my rustic minis, and I made a magic cake, and I showed it to you last week. This is all that's left of my tiny little magic cake, the last section of color. It's the last mini skein. What I decided to do was go with a darker main color, which I'm loving. I'm so glad I went with that decision because I do have some lighter shawls, and I don't have anything like this. What does this look like to you? Katie said it, I think Katie said it looked like rock, like maybe sedimentary layers or something. It does right here make me think of a geode when you cut it open, and that the edge right before you see all the crystal goodness on the inside. It does make me think a little bit of that. But goodness, I think of a rag rug or something from a thrift store, like a thrift store rag rug or something, or old quilt. I don't know. I just love the way these colors look together. And then the reverse is just as good. And you can see a little more like of the gold in the brioche. So I really appreciate, Sarah Jane, you reminding me about this brioche reference. I actually didn't have to use it, but Sarah Jane, I'd asked for a quick visual reference, like a static image, that I could find and just look at if I got confused on my knits and purls and all with brioche. And Sarah Jane recommended using the Ultimate Vogue Knitting Book, and they do have a page on brioche. If you were just learning brioche, I don't know if this would be enough for you. Andrea Mowry's brioche tutorial is really good, but I do think this would work once you know how. It might be enough for you, but I think it would work once you know how. And you see the kind of images. I don't want to show too much of the book, but they do give you the look of increases and decreases and what it should look like. Nancy Marchand also has, and Tammy Gore links it in the pattern, a good blog post on brioche. And then she's got, classes and, I don't know, maybe books on it. But I found that I watched Andrea Mowry's tutorials and I remembered completely how to do it. And the key for me, when it says yarn over, it's a little confusing because it's more like wrapping around the stitches. And when Andrea Mowry says, wrap a little shawl around it, that just was the image I needed to get it right each time, whether I'm doing reverse, right side or wrong side brioche knitting. So anyway, thank you though, Sarah Jane. Anyhow, this has been a great joy to work on, and I've kind of put everything aside to work on it. And now I am to the end, and I actually think I'm going to run out of yarn before I finish, but that's all right because I really think I would like the way it looks because these colors were not too saturated, but the red is actually pretty saturated. It's pretty bright compared to the rest of these. So I think I would like to finish with the main color, which is Hawthorn Silverton. And I think I would like to finish with an edge made of Silverton. So that's my color craze. I'm loving working on it. It's been a lot of fun to work with. I have all kinds of yarn stuck to this. I don't even know where this yarn came from. I don't even know what this is. All right. All right, so that, my whole point, I'm sorry. This, I wove in my ends as I went. You can see there is no end on this except the working yarn. So I won't even have to block it if I don't want to. That's a really nice thing to know. I'm reformed, you guys. I'm telling you, I am a different person. Completely made over. All right, so what have you guys been reading or watching? I went to the movies. Let me show you. I went to the movies and saw Ad Astra, that movie with Brad Pitt. And I was kind of thinking Brad Pitt in a science fiction movie. I mean, I think he is a good actor. Like I told you a few episodes ago, I don't really like Tom Cruise's acting. I don't think he's a very good actor. I don't really believe him. And I don't in love interest plots. He's just not very believable for me. But Brad Pitt is, I think, a good actor. He's just so famous. It's hard for me to watch super famous people in movies unless they're campy. Because I'm spending the whole movie thinking, yes, that's Brad Pitt acting like an astronaut who's, has a complicated relationship with his father. But the movie was really good. He did so good. He was playing such a bottled up, restrained character, and he did it so well. And I wouldn't have thought he would. And I have to say, that man is aging well. Okay, so, Ready Player One. This is Mustache Yarns, and when I was in Ad Astra, you can see how long it is. I was ready to do my heel and I had forgotten my waist yarn. I only know how to use waist yarn for an afterthought heel. I'm using the Smooth Operator version. But I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. Everybody's doing the Kirby Werby method, and that doesn't require waist yarn. You do cut your knitting, and it's supposed to be scary the first time, but I'm just going to have to try it. So here I am. I'm going to go in soon and cut in for that heel so that I can try it on and make sure it's long enough. But I love this Ready Player One colorway. I love the prominent gray and then the little thin vivid stripes of color. And that's from a book, also a movie that I can recommend. I really enjoyed reading that book. It was my beach reading one day. I read the rest of it in bed, but that was fun. That was an enjoyable read. So after I saw The Goldfinch, I told you guys I read the book in the last episode. I saw the movie. It wasn't bad. It's just the book is always so much better. And I just can't help but say, read the book before you watch the movie. Because the movie's going to give away important things in the book that will hold your interest. But the book is so well written compared. And I know not everyone thinks it's well written, but hey, it was good for me. I mean, it was good for me. So they had a good soundtrack, though, to that movie. I don't know if y'all are this way. I'm a little possessive with certain songs that I think are my song, and I don't want them to be used for some unholy Adam Sandler film, you know? So, Your Silent Face, that New Order song, that was in the movie. And it was a little tough for me, you know? It's my song, but it was okay, you know? And then there's a band my daughter introduced me to. K is the name of the song, and I heard that in the background of a scene, and it worked real well. And then I think they had some Rolling Stones and stuff. It was just a really good soundtrack. But the movie was okay. But the book is so much better. And I feel like they overdid certain relationships in the movie. Like, they made them much more pivotal in his life than they were, and downplayed others. So, I don't know. Read the book, then go see the movie. You don't have to see The Goldfinch in the theater. It is not a 3D movie. You don't need IMAX. So, like, my next book to read was Between the World and Me. Is that what it is? Between the World and Me? Look, I'm doubting the name of it. I really liked it. Yeah, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I told you I knew what it was sort of about in the last episode. Brenda recommended that. She recommended a ton of good books. But I wanted to read this one before I moved on to the classics, right? I had some thoughts I wrote down about this, and I'm a little hesitant to share. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to share because, well, anyway, I just wrote down a few thoughts I had through it. One thing Ta-Nehisi has done is use word imagery and phrases that really stick with you after you finish reading the book, that will change the way I think certain thoughts. Like, those phrases are going to be in my head in the future. A big one is the American dream, and those who believe in it are the dreamers. Usually people who see themselves as white, right? Because he discusses, and I believe also, our concept of race is so faulty in our country. It's like a way to dominate over other people. And him talking about the dreamers, I would say, if I were paraphrasing what a dreamer is, it's someone who believes in the concept of the nobility of our country, that it's always been noble. Yes, there were some problems with slavery, but we made it right by freeing the slaves, and all is equal and right. We are all equal. We are very righteous and noble. We are absolved of the sins of our fathers. Those things don't happen anymore. Nothing like it. And you get where you are in life now based on how hard you work or how hard you don't work, which isn't really true. And he goes into it through personal stories that he shares. I found this really moving because I think Ta-Nehisi is my age. And he's writing this like a letter to his son, who I would believe is my daughter's age, probably. So he and I grew up at the same time, 80s and 90s. And our experience is so very different. Him being a black man in Baltimore and me being a white woman in, Podunk, Texas. So some things he talks about, like the idea that the abuses going on now that followed from the policies of slavery and, say, Jim Crow and things like that. This is a quote: "The sprawling carceral state, the random detention of black people, the torture of suspects, it's all a product of our democratic will. It's not an accident. It's not a rarity. It's something we are allowing, we are actually producing." He talks about plundering bodies. That is such a harsh and moving phrase. The plundering of black bodies. You can see it clearly in slavery, but he talks about recent events. Shootings of unarmed victims, or a friend, the death of a friend. And, bodies as currency. He speaks about, black bodies as currency. Owning more of these bodies was something to aspire to. It was the keys to the country club, a way to get status and superiority in society. I found it really extra devastating to him, it seemed, because he talked about people who had faith in God, and like, I believe in God. He doesn't. And so for him, his flesh is his spirit, and that's it. And if it is subjugated, if a person is mistreated their whole life in their flesh, then that's all their existence was. That's really troubling and horrible. Not that it's not horrible the other way around, but, you know, it probably frustrated him a great deal to have people talk about, well, you know, I'll get my due in heaven, or God to show grace to other people, you know, and that was really hard for him to swallow. But I do believe there will be an accounting that will have to be made for those who, for all of us who are part of a system that still crushes the spirit of people. A lot of his examples, like just how hard it was for Black people to move out of certain neighborhoods. They were pushed back in. They were funneled to these certain inner city neighborhoods. Whereas they had the ability to get out, they weren't allowed to buy the homes. So things like that are made more vivid here. This is really important to me, this concept of a different, like, total double standard in what he had to live by growing up. Like, he said he had to be twice as good, and he was told, you be twice as good to get by unscathed in life as a Black man, you know. And this is something he said in recent writings, that like a white person can just be mediocre and they're safe. But that's harder for a Black person, because you have to be extra good to get out of certain situations, be extra good to not be suspect in people's minds of something, especially where he grew up. Like he said, a third of his brain power as a young man wasn't spent trying to do good in school or trying to do well in sports or extracurricular activities. It was about, what street do I take to get home? What kind of nod, what kind of body language do I give around these certain people so that I don't get jumped? It was all about survival. Totally foreign to me. Not at all my experience. So anyway, it was a very moving book, and it just gave me a lot to think about. I'm interested in reading. I have a couple articles saved to read by him. And he also has a new book out, Water Dancer. And he said that he wrote fiction. Someone encouraged him to, because what facts can't always reach people. They don't trust the sources, but he felt like fiction might get his message across. And it sounds like he's writing about some of these same things. It's about a slave. So it's going to be about some of these issues that he's talking about in Between the World and Me. I just have to say, as I read it, I kept thinking, anybody who resents a book like that might wake you from a sleepy, happy dream that everything's equal now. Everyone has a shot. There's no such thing as prejudice anymore, or whatever. A comfortable dream where you don't have to change or try to affect change or care about change. I just feel like they're going to have something to answer to. They're setting yourself against God. I think God is big on discomfort. That's been my experience. This is my beliefs I'm talking about. See, a grab bag. You get a grab bag with this podcast. Now I'm talking about religion. I think he's big on discomfort. We're not supposed to stay the same. We're not perfect. No one can be. But we aren't supposed to be necessarily happy in imperfections, especially those that allow us to be blissfully ignorant, with a willful ignorance about what's happening to our brother of color. I just really can't understand someone resenting this information. I guess they just don't want to hear something that would require some soul searching and some change, and also having some of their heroes fall. Like Oliver, the idea that our founding fathers were perfection, or the nobility of the South and the Civil War, things like that. You know, those idols have to fall, you know. Anyway, I enjoyed the book. Brenda, I'm so glad you recommended it. I do want to read Water Dancer, his fiction book eventually. Right now, I've moved on to the Iliad and fallen asleep through the prologue for probably 2 weeks now. It's a long prologue, but I've been really tired. Gonna read it though. Anyway, what have you guys been watching or reading? Okay, well, I have one confession to make. This is really embarrassing. I watched the Beverly Hills 90210 reboot. Like, I turned it on as a joke at first to torment my husband, but he fell asleep, and so it really didn't get to him. That got old, and I just kept watching, and then I like watched the next episode. And so then like the next night I'm knitting and I watch the next episode. Of course it comes up every time you turn on your Apple TV, but I watched the whole season. And I was cringing through the whole thing, and I was embarrassed that I was watching it through the whole thing. It was exactly like being in high school again, watching the old one, cringing and being embarrassed that I was watching it. I mean, I was like in 10th grade and embarrassed that I was watching it. I don't know why I do it. I'm compelled. It's like I want to know what the kids are into, but I was a kid. I don't know. Anyway, and then this is even worse. I went back and watched some of the original series, the first season. I never watched beyond like the second or third season as a kid, though. It got really, really ridiculous even for me, but I thought it was just kind of funny and also embarrassing that I watched that. Anyway, more deep thoughts from Michelle. But lest you think I am shallow, I'll have you know I watched Downton Abbey at the movie theater. That was some real deep thoughts. Yeah, that was fun. I also did that to my husband too. But he kind of liked watching Downton Abbey. So it was enjoyable. You know, nobody went into prison. So it wasn't super melodramatic, but it was all fun. And, you know, that was a fun one. I also worked on my Ready Player One socks through that. So, you guys, I asked you what you do when you're about to run out of yarn or you fear you'll run out of yarn. What are your techniques for saving yarn? Do you spit splice? Do you magic knot? Do you just go ahead, weave in ends? Do you substitute? What do you do? The verdict is in from the like handful of people that answered me. And basically,
now keep it.
It spits, aiming for the eye.
And I screamed out, I'm hit!
And the spit ricocheted off him and it hit me.
we all just like slobber all over our knitwear. Amanda spit splices always. She never ties knots, but she also uses non-superwash yarn, so it's easy to spit splice. Whereas Andrea mostly uses superwash, and so she can't. She'd like to, but you really can't do it with superwash yarn. So I guess she weaves in ends. Adina said that in the shawl at Bark Lines by Joji Locatelli that she's working on, or just finished, she got right to the border, the edge of this triangular shawl, and ran out of yarn, so she added a darker color yarn just to kind of border it, and it looks like a design element. She actually likes the way it looks. And I thought, you know, that is what I did, Adina, with my Ravello by Isabel Kramer. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know if you can tell. I got to the edge, and it's a ribbing at the bottom hem, and I was running low on the navy color that was the main color, and it was going to be too short. I just needed an inch more. So I used my two other contrast colors and made a little stripe, and it looks kind of like an athletic sporty stripe. You see? And it looks like it fits. You know that athletic look of like the late 90s, early 2000s? That was meant to look like the athletic look of the late 70s, early 80s. Anyway, that's kind of the look. Look, here's how the whole sweater looked. This is a really great sweater. This still fits me. I'm going to have to show some sweaters. Next week is going to be all about breaking 100 on your sweaters. So that's what I did. I added a color, and I also, you know, on the Soldotna, I used another contrast color that was similar to the one that I had been knitting with, just to do that bind off round, and you really can't see it. So that's how Adina handled it. Brooke usually weaves in her ends or spit splices depending on the yarn. So she's using Brooklyn Tweed right now. And Brooke, is this your weekender that you're talking about? Brooklyn Tweed is the easiest yarn in the world to spit splice. It's woolen spun, it's lofty and airy, and those scales just attach immediately. It is almost imperceptible where you spit splice, depending on how much yarn you use for the splice. So I'm interested to see your weekender finish, Brooke. Yeah, Brooklyn Tweed is the best for that. Let's see, Sarah Jane, she said that it said that the women of Fair Isle tied knots on the inside of their sweaters. So, you know, Fair Isle sweaters were pretty detailed, stranded work, sometimes all the way through the sweater. It was stranded. And to do all that work and then tie lazy knots, it must be okay to tie knots, you guys. I'm thinking I need to be a little more cavalier with the knot tying and go for it. So that's what I'm planning on doing. All those little like spit splicing, magic knots, weaving through the center of floats in the back. I'm going to do all of those easy methods from now on. I'm going to keep up with my end weaving. So let me show you guys some things that I've been working on. Oh, I also wanted to say Sarah Jane recommended Purl Soho has a free blanket pattern that's a great way to practice brioche. I don't have it loaded up on my iPad, but I might show the picture here and the name of it because I don't remember the name. It's a free pattern and it's a baby blanket, but it's large enough to give you a great amount of practice with brioche. I did my Marley shawl by Andrea Mowry, and that was mega amounts of brioche. In fact, let me go get it. I love how this Marley looks. You know, I'm not into pink and coral a whole bunch. Like, I like the colors, but I don't wear the colors. But this looks so great together. This is, the black is some kind of Knit Pick Stroll or Hawthorn, and the brightly colored yarn is, I think, called Sunset by Jinx Yarn. So this side looks great, but this black dark side I like the best. So I wanted to show you also, and I'm glad I remembered to, I'm glad I got the shawl because that made me remember. Sometimes when you're wearing, you know, these big giant shawls and they start to want to fall off when you're doing stuff, I saw this at Firefly Fibers, this little wraparound, which you could wear like a bracelet if you wanted when you're not wearing your shawl. And then you can knot your shawl. It ties it together. I think it's called the Wraparound. I'm not sure who makes it, but Firefly Fibers was selling them. That's how I found out about it. And you just tie it around and then, you know, make a little slip knot or something. Anyway, you get the picture. And it holds it in place. I really love that idea. I think this is the neatest little thing. And they have, I think, different styles or sizes, but I liked this one. I thought it was plain, and say you get hot, you get in the building or wherever you are. So when I'm walking dogs, this would be great to keep it from falling off if I don't have a coat to tuck my shawl in or my scarf in. It's also just cute. But then if you get hot and you take your thing off, you can always wear it on your wrist, which is a neat little idea, so you don't lose it. I really know how to, anyway, I'm not going to try while I'm on air. So I learned to do brioche through that giant Marley shawl, and I just needed a tiny refresher for my color craze. But thank you for the recommendation of the pattern, Sarah Jane. So some of the things I've been wanting to do are stockings. We talked in our the Very Shannon group during the Summer Sweater Knit Along that I did my soldotna. I did it for that and for the Mockingbird sweater knit along. At the summer sweater knit along, we talked about our maybe doing a Christmas knit along in the Very Shannon group, which I think is going to happen because I want to make stockings, and another friend in there is wanting to make them too. And she had a book from Knit Picks, and I think that's the same one I ordered. It's got like 6 stocking patterns. I had 2 from Knit Picks already in my library, but that one with 6, I like some of the patterns. There's geometric, modern looking ones, and there's traditional Fair Isle stockings. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to use complementing, coordinating colors for all of my stockings. I'm going to do 6 of them eventually, but that all kind of go around this. This is fully spun. It's a Ran Vintage Christmas colorway. So you can see that I used Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. This is Bear Tranquil, Blossom Heather, Holly Berry, and Aurora Heather. And these really complement it well. Can you tell? They're nice. So I figure if I do like some striped stockings with just a few stripes in this, and I make this stretch, I have 2 skeins of this, I could probably extend this through a few stockings. And then the rest of these colors coordinating. You know, there's Fair Isle. This can be for some of the Fair Isle stripes across some of them. I'm not sure how I'm going to order my colors, but I think I have enough of everything. I have quite a bit of bear yarn that I've collected over time. So I'm excited to do that. And I don't have the book to show you. It's not in yet, but it's one of their traditional Christmas books. It's got like 6 stocking patterns plus pillows and things like that. I don't think it has a tree skirt pattern, but maybe ornaments. So that's something I would like to do. And that's, I don't know how much I'll get done before Christmas. We're not all going to be together at Christmas, so if I just have 3 or 4, that's pretty good. Another thing I wanted to do is make not a Cozy Memories blanket, but similar, a granny stripe blanket with leftovers of sock yarn or fingering weight yarn that I've used for different projects. I got one of these bags from A Homespun House. It's those Bulga bags from Bolgatanga, Ghana. Let me see what it says about it. Yeah, it says this provides, like the money from these baskets provides health care for the weavers and their families, school supplies for the children, and builds community weaving centers for several villages of weavers. Because this is like, it's really hard because of how dry it is there to grow produce. This is the livelihood for a lot of families there. So anyway, I think this is such a great quality basket. These handles, I can't get over them. I've used baskets woven in Ghana before, like, I can't think of the name of it, but my bicycle basket is made in one of these villages, and it's really nice. But I've never had a basket like you carry, and these handles are just really well made, leather. And anyway, I thought this is enough to hold a blanket, even though I want to do something between a full and a queen size. I wanted to go over my bed. I don't know why. I have animals and they still scuffle with their nose and scratch in the bed, but I want to try. You got to live. Even with pets, you have to live. So I want to try. And I think that will be a big enough project, whatever, basket to hold it. I may have shown this before a while back when I was talking about doing a crochet blanket. I've got a few different little knit picks. I've collected them here and there. Like, you know, if you buy $50 worth of stuff there, you get free shipping. Well, if I'm close to that, I just go ahead and would throw in one of these skeins of something teal or blue-green or aqua. I have an aqua or like a teal wall in my bedroom, just one wall, but it really would look good if there was a little bit of that kind of coloring in this bedspread. And I thought it would tie together. If I had a stripe of that here and there throughout the whole thing, it would tie it together. Maybe also do the border in this, it would tie all the other wild colors together. I plan to use all of my scraps except self-striping. So anyway, these are the colors I have. This is very close to the wall. It's a darker shade of this. It's a darker shade, but it's this kind of color. So anyway, I'm excited to do that. I have a, when I went to DFW Fiber Fest, Nelson Wood was there, and they were selling these ergonomic crochet hooks. So I got this one. This is a size D. And I thought I would use it. It's Kingwood. It's so beautiful. Look at that grain. Can you see it? I don't know if you guys can see it. I can't see it in the screen. I thought size D would be good for me. It is fingering weight, and I do knit loosely. So I don't know how I crochet. We'll find out. Oh, I lost my lid. Anyway, so that's some upcoming projects I have going. Another big thing that's coming up is Knitting in the Hills retreat. It's not anytime soon. It's like in March. But I wanted to tell you, they're having scholarships. So if you've ever wanted to go to a knitting retreat but couldn't afford it, it's not in your budget, you should try for the scholarship. I don't know if it's just one or several. I would think it's more than one. I'm going to have links to the Instagram post about it and or their website where the pertinent information is. I think it's really exciting that they're doing this. Now, I've never gone to a knitting retreat, and I've never wanted to because of the price. I just felt like I just can't justify it. I mean, it's classes and stuff, but I mean, I know, and I think I could comfortably use YouTube to learn anything else I want to learn, but there were so many good designers that were going to be teaching at this one, and I feel like in the future, I don't know what's coming for me, but I might not have this kind of chance, like time to do this, so I decided to do it. And one of the things I would like to do, and by the way, DFW Fiberfest is offering scholarships too, and I'm going to put links to their post about it also in the show notes. So please look that up if you've considered. And if you feel a little weird about going, because a lot of times the people who go to these retreats are repeat attenders, and they all know each other and they're kind of bonded, and you might feel on the outside. I've never been to one. I'm never going to be a big retreat goer. So if you get the scholarship, let me know and I'll look for you there, and you'll have somebody you can bond with. I'll talk with you. Also, if you're just going, and whether you know everyone there or you're going to feel a little new and nervous, either way, talk to me. Let me know. You can message me. Talk to me here or Ravelry or Instagram, and I'll look for you. I don't usually feel weird if I'm the only person or new to something. Not usually, unless I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm cool with being like by myself, but I'm sure everybody's going to be friendly. These events are nice. And DFW Fiberfest is not as expensive, even if you attend classes as a retreat, because you're not staying overnight. You don't need all your food. However, they are offering a scholarship, so definitely apply. Anyway, for the retreat, I would like to have something knit up from each of the designers that I'll take a class from. And I'm taking a mini class, at least one, from Dawn Barker of Chasing Rabbits Fiber. And so you know I showed you that yarn, and I want to do it. I want to do it. Shoot, I put it up. That yarn of hers for Columbia. It's the Port colorway and cameo. I'll just put in a picture here. It's really beautiful. I want to knit her Columbia shawl, and I'd like to do that before I go. I also have her Wildwood colorway, which is actually like one of my favorite colors, and I really want to use it. And I saw Dawn Henderson used it for her Siki shawl, and it looks great. And I thought, man, I really want to work with that colorway. But I do think it would be cool to use Dawn of Chasing Rabbits, her design, and her yarn. So anyway, probably I'll do Columbia. And I already have a Caitlin Hunter. She's going to be one of my teachers. I already have her Soldotna. Plus I have Sunset Highway, even though I don't know that the fit is great on the body. It's very clingy. I probably should have used a larger needle. You know, like after the the thickness of the yoke, it's just one strand and it gets all clingy. If I do something by Caitlin Hunter, this is what I would like to use. I've seen a lot of people are doing more affordable commercial yarns in ghost horses. Like, it recommends spin cycle dyed in the wool, which is beautiful. Like, you know, here's my Guthrie, and you can see what this dyed in the wool looks like. It's incredible. Oh, well, it's somewhere in here. It's very special. Well, is it? No. I have a mess of stuff all around me. So here is my Guthrie thus far. I'm really no further than the last time I showed it to you. But I've got my light up brighter so that you can see things better because it's dark. This is Mississippi Marsala colorway and just Cascade Natural in the background. Doesn't that look beautiful? So, I mean, spin cycle is special. But not everybody can afford spin cycle, and especially not if you're doing a pattern that calls for a lot of it, or you want to make a large size. And if you want to make a larger size plus have some ease, I mean, that's a lot of yarn, and it's a lot of an expense. So people are doing things like patterns croy. A friend mentioned to me, like, the marled color changing patterns croy would look really good and be a very good substitute for spin cycle. And I thought, I wonder if I could do that. I have some patterns croy. I even have some marled patterns croy. I just don't know that it's enough for a sweater, but I would like to do that. It also was on sale at my Joann a bit back, but that was mostly just self-striping. Anyway, Firefly Fibers had this crazy Zabber ball, and this colorway I love. So I decided to use it. And I think I'll pair it with Barn Owl by Loft, Brooklyn Tweed Loft. I feel like this is brown, it goes, but it's not so dark a brown that it will mingle too much with this. I think this might be superwash yarn, I'm not sure. I can't tell by the label, so I'll have to look online, and this isn't. So that might be a problem, I don't know. But anyway, it might happen for me. It might not. Then another teacher that I'm going to have will be Leslie Ann Robinson. So, you know, knit graffiti, or graffiti knit. That's what she's called, graffiti knits. She has several patterns that I own from books, like one's from Elaine magazine. It's like Lane 2. And let me see if I've got her here. Yeah. And it's a single color brioche. Unda is the name of it. And I like the look of it. Let's see, here we go. It's not brioche all over either, so it's not like it would take so much focus if I was trying to rush to do this. It's one I do want to make. So it would be different for me. I love the texture that single color brioche will add to your knitwear. If I'm feeling like I'm out of time, though, I don't have a lot of time, this would be a really easy one to do, just to have knit something of hers. And it's Cobaltoin. I don't know how to say it. Cobaltoin. Anyway, it's just a hat. Brioche. She's really big on brioche. That's the class she's teaching, I think, is New Shapes with Brioche. But here's the one I most want to do. Coffee at the Grand, and that is a very, very grand design, if you ask me. Where is it? I am not seeing it on this page. Oh, here we go. There is so much lushness to this. You know, there's giant tassels, brioche, color work, lots of texture. It's a wrap. It's rectangular in shape. It's just neat. I am excited to make that. So that's really what I would like to make by her. The other is Romi Hill. I've never knit anything by Romi Hill either. That was my dog eating a fly. When he's not afraid of them, he is eating them. I guess it depends on the type of fly. Convergency. I think that's a really neat use of color, brioche, and is that brioche? It might just be striping. It looks like brioche. Color and lace. I mean, you just couldn't get bored working on that. That would be interesting all the way through. Here we go. Ponte de Rialto. This is really pretty. It's a big, big triangle shawl. And it's not as easy for me to wear giant triangle shawls, but the little wraparound will help. I just love that. It has a graphic nature to it because of all that lace in it. So it would be fun to do that too before, you know, I get there. Oh, another thing. It's bijouterie. And it's earrings. And usually knitted jewelry looks kind of clunky. Doesn't really look good to me. This is great with beading. I think that looks really cute, and it made me think, I got these crocheted hoops. Aren't they just the cutest? I love them. They make me think of summer and like summer crochet tops. I got those from STL Stylings _crochet on Instagram. So her name is Lene. It's STL Stylings. Anyway, I'll have her info here. These look heavy. They are not. They're some of the lightest earrings I have. I've never had hoops this light. And she's got even bigger hoops. She also sells accessories like hats and scarves and things. But these earrings are so cool. She's got all colors. She's got sparkly yarn, all of it. You ought to check her out. So that's pretty much all the stuff I'd like to get going. Obviously, I talked in the last 2 episodes about using all the yarn that my friends had dyed or that I'd been given by friends, and honestly, that's more my priority, I think, than having something from each designer I'll learn from. That yarn is so special to me from friends, and I really don't want to let... Of course, Dawn Barker is a friend, and so I'd be killing 2 birds with 1 stone by knitting her stuff. But that is true, and also, I think my son needs in. Do you wanna be on my podcast?
Nah.
I could interview you.
Nah.
What do you think about knitting?
It's super rad.
Okay. Super rad. Okay. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about was I got West Knits Best Knits Volume 2. I have Volume 1. All those great shawls. Do you know? Okay. This is my second embarrassing confession. I've never knit anything by Stephen West, and I have these two books and still have not. I have yarn even set aside for Exploration Station. I think it was Dandelion yarn from Madeline Tosh. I just haven't ever gotten around to doing it, even though I love his designs. So when I saw this, I was kind of excited about it because I'd seen so many of his sweaters and knit by different friends online, and I thought, okay, well, this is all of it in one place. But it's very inspiring, even if I wasn't going to knit his patterns. You just look at it and the way he's made shapes work on the body, it could inspire you to make something very different than what you see here, but also very different than what you would have imagined making. So he's very inspirational that way. I think a lot of these designs, like for instance, his Enchanted Mesa, see, I wouldn't use these kind of colors together. I might not even use this many colors in a project. His projects are really good for stash busting though. But multicolors that are maybe a little more close in shade or something, a little more subtle contrast, low contrast, I would enjoy making. And I've always liked this. A friend of mine made this and it was just so cool. I like both versions in here. Like, see, here's that turtleneck. It's just so great. Whoops. I also like this Kanga rollover. See, this isn't a lot of color. This is just 2 colors. I still probably wouldn't choose that yellow for myself, but something else with the black and white, yeah, I like that. It's got that poncho pullover effect. It makes me think of those, it's supposed to look kind of Baja, I think, like Surfer Dude in the 90s. Girls and guys would wear those little pullovers. They look like Mexican woven pullovers. I don't remember what we call them. The Marled Magic has that look to it. This has that look too. Loving that necklace. Okay, so Pinguano. You know, I've talked about Sarah Jane's beautiful Pinguano and how she used her own natural dyed yarn, and all those natural colors just work together. Even though they're very varied, they work together. I don't know if it's because they're from nature or just her style of dyeing, but this is too colorful for me. I just wouldn't enjoy these colors. Or maybe it's not that it's too colorful, it's just not all my colors. But one knit with my leftovers plus some of my colors that I like, I would really enjoy. And seeing so many people knit it with different... Oh, and look at this. This loop stitch added to this. See, again, I wouldn't use the neon like this, but man, the idea of loop stitch, and it's just got such a woven together, I don't know. There's just this rustic look about it. Seed stitch, all of it, marled yarns. And you know, he like basically brought mohair back by holding it together with everything else he knitted. I just love it. Now this one is new for me. It's the small size dress version of, and you've all seen these. It's not like I'm showing them to you. Oh, it's the small size dress version of Marled Magic. I like the way that looks. So anyway, I mean, these aren't new. I'm not reviewing the book, and I'm not, hey, there's this brand new designer called Stephen West. But I'm just saying, I really want to do this. I got to knit something of his in 2019's over, 2020 for sure. Maybe a couple of things of his. I've noticed that once people knit one, they have to knit more, and they get on a roll with him. Okay, now that's totally everything. Oh no, one more thing. Do you remember Christy Glass interviewed Lisa of Carol's Daughter? She like started the company Carol's Daughter on her show a while back. I really enjoyed that because I didn't know much about Carol's Daughter. I just thought it was this obscure line of shampoo that I found at my Walgreens that was natural. And I used it. Well, then they quit carrying it, so I was bummed. And I didn't think to look online for it. And I see this interview and I go online and they have so much to offer there. My hair gets oily easily. I do have curly hair since having my second child. It's like my hormones went crazy. I have some curl, but you see, it's not much. And my hair can be very fragile and fine and limp. So anyway, all the shampoos I've tried from them work. I made an order and I tried this scent. I use the Monoi oil instead of conditioner, and I just use a dime-sized amount in my hand, and I run it through my hair after I shampoo. And I don't wash my hair every day. It's like every 3 or 4 days. But I got the Monoi scent, and I don't guess you can see it here very well, but oh my gosh. It smells like vanilla crossed with like Hawaiian tropic suntan oil from like the 80s, back when nobody cared about skin cancer and you just slather yourself up till you were all shiny. It so makes me want to be at the beach when I smell it. This is the perfect summer scent. And then they were having a big sale, like half off. That's why I got this stuff. I got Almond Cookie. I got one for me and one for my sister. Almond Cookie is the perfect winter scent. It smells like the kind of tea you would want to have, hot tea or a flavored latte drink or something, or a candle. And it's, you know, cold outside, but it's so warm inside with your candle and all. Oh my gosh. And this really lasts. Like, I usually spray stuff a little on my hair and maybe my clothes, and it lasts longer than if it's on your body. This lasts all day. So anyway, just want to do a little plug for them because it's a really good company, a lot of natural products, and you are having to order online though, unless you live in a big city that offers this. L'Oreal bought the company, so maybe it will be more readily available in stores, but for me it would have to be online. Anyway, okay, so I've knit 100 plus sweaters. I've broken 100, have you? How many sweaters have you knit? What are your favorite sweaters? Next episode, I'm going to take a little tour of some of my sweaters, if I can find them. I mean, like, that is going to be a workout in itself. Yeah, digging them all up. Some are gone. I've given some away. But if I can dredge up most of them, I'll show you. Maybe I can fast forward through quite a bit of showing them to you. And a lot don't fit me, so that might really be hilarious for me to put them on. But anyway, all right, I hope you all have a good week. Bye.